Good afternoon, Ma'am Jess. Good afternoon, classmates. We are the Group 4, and we are the fourth group to present and discuss about the topic that is assigned to us, which is titled Magazines. In this presentation, we will learn about the brief history of magazines, its purpose, the benefits and the disadvantages, and also we will learn about what are the top 10 magazines in the Philippines. So before we begin to the discussion, I will introduce to you first the members of Group 4. So to start up with, we have Mr. Rafael Paulo Alenton, Miss Sofia Denise Belia, Miss Ganika Kalay, Miss Mary Jane Olachicon, Mr. Clint Ryan Fahutar, Miss Cyrus Kate Padernal, Mr. Ralph Ian Ramos, Miss Amy Joyce Sibiri, and myself, Karen Rose Villa. So the next slide will be reported by Miss Padernal.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Charles Kate Padernal, and I'm the one who next to report. What is magazine? A publication that is released on a regular basis, usually with a paper cover, and normally contains essay, stories, poetry, and other works by numerous writers, as well as photographs and drawings, frequently specializing in a specific subject or area, such as hobbies, news, or sports. The word magazine comes from the Middle French magazine, which means warehouse, depot, or store, the Italian magazzino, and the Arabic magazine, which is the plural of magazan, which means storehouse. The term magazine is originally refers to the storage space or gadget. It is refers to the collection of written pieces in the case of written publication. Growth and progress of magazine. The early periodicals were produced using an old type of printing press that used massive hands, each with blocks for printing. When magazine manufacturing rose, complete production lines were established to make these wooden blocks. Because of the rapid expansion of magazines, literary criticism, and political discussion, the objective newspaper eventually began to shift toward more subjective items. Later, due to the high demands of magazine and the printing press revolution, magazines were printed using machines. The magazine, like the newspaper, has a rich history shaped by the societies in which it evolved. Examining the business's origin and evolution over time can help us better comprehend the present industry. Next reporter, please. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mary Jane Olachicon, and I'll be reporting the early magazines. Early publishers began to envision the magazine as the printing press became widely available in Europe. Brochures, pamphlets, and almanacs were the forerunners of the recognizable modern magazines in the 17th century. Publishers quickly discovered that the erratic publications schedules demanded far too much time and efforts. As publishers sought to regular readers with specialized interests, there was a gradual shift. However, the early magazine was unlike any other publication. It was not enough of a news source to be labeled a newspaper, but it was also not suitable for leisure reading. Early magazines, on the other hand, inhabited a midway ground between the two. German theologian and a poet Johann Ries published the first true magazine between 1663 and 1668, titled Herbalische Monats Entergen, or Edifying Monthly Discussions. Ries' publications inspired a number of others to begin printing literary journals across Europe. Denis Disallo's French Journal des Savants in 1665. The Royal Society's English Philosophical Transactions in 1665, and Francisco Nazari's Italian Journal de Literature in 1668. In 1684, exiled Frenchman Pierre Bella published Nouvelle de la République de Lettres in the Netherlands to escape French censorship. Profoundly affected by a general revival of learning during the 1600s, the publications inspired enthusiasm for education. Another Frenchman, Jean Nounou de Vies, published the first periodical of amusement, Le Mercure Galant, later renamed Mercure de France, in 1672, which contained news, short stories, and poetry. With the arrival of the 18th century came an increase in literacy. Women, who enjoyed a considerable rise in literacy rate, began reading in record numbers. This growth affected the literary world as a whole, inspiring a large number of female writers to publish novels for female readers. This influx of female readers also helped magazines flourish as more women sought out the publications as a source of knowledge and entertainment. In fact, many magazines jumped at the chance to reach out to women. The Athenian Mercury, the first magazine written specifically for women, appeared in 1693.
Early 20th century developments. With the arrival of the 20th century came new types of publications, such as news, business, and picture magazines. These types of periodical eventually began to dominate the business and draw large readerships. News magazine. The news magazine was created by publishers who wanted to communicate the news surge of global informations that the technology made available in the late 19th and early 20th century in a concise manner. Time became the first news magazine to focus on the world events in 1923. Picture magazines. Photojournalism, or the telling of story through photographs, became popular in the early 20th century as well. Although publication had been carrying illustration since the 19th century. Picture magazine gained in popularity as photograph grew in prominence. Into the 21st century. The introduction of online technologies in the late 20th and early 21st centuries began to have significant impact on both the magazine industry and the print media as a whole. Magazine publishers, like newspaper publishers, have had to rethink their structure in order to reach out to an increasingly online consumers. Philippine Magazine. The Philippine Magazine was founded in 1904. According to Maslog, in 1960, it was the first monthly in the Philippines to offer various information. It began as the Philippine Teacher, a semi-government journal for public school teachers, but was renamed the Philippine Magazine in 1905 and then became privately held in the following year.
So next is Abraham van Heiningen Hartendorp in 1893 to 1975, commonly known as A.V.H. Hartendorp, took over as editor in 1929 and expanded its scope. He committed the journal to the Philippines' cultural growth. Next is Judge W.A. Kincaid, started the Philippine Free Press in 1907 as a bilingual English and Spanish newspaper. However, the paper was only somewhat successful. So, in 1908, Robert McLeod, a former Manila Times editor, bought the paper for ₱1 and utilized his life savings of 8,000 as operational capital. The Free Press was released as a bilingual English and Spanish weekly magazine until the World War II, with staff and contributors such as journalists Teodoro Lacsin, Leon Maria Gregorio, and Nick Joaquin. Aside from political commentary, it promoted literature by publishing short stories. The paper is also known for its smartly drawn editorial cartoons. The first features is editorial cartoon showing President Quezon's support of the women's suffrage movement, published on April 3, 1937 in the Philippines Free Press. The second picture is an editorial cartoon on the coming election published on May 10, 1919 in the Philippine Free Press. A May 1940 Philippines Free Press political cartoon by Esmeraldo Aizon illustrates the scores of immigrants that threatened to overwhelm the Philippines' ability to absorb them. The first picture left an early copy of the Free Press circa early in 1910s, and right a later version of the magazine in its prime dated June 1949 with an early Emilio Aguinaldo on the cover. The second picture is a Christmas message from President Manuel Quezon to the Filipinos, published at December 1939 by the Philippines Free Press. The third picture is a copy dated December 22, 1923. The entries at the left are in English and at the right are its Spanish translations. The release Free Press was success as much as its initial run was in. By 1941, it had a circulation of 80,000 copies a week. Feliciano, 1967, said that always lively, critical, and carefully edited, the Free Press is an example of a magazine that has drawn vitality from its staff and its widely spread readers. And indeed, it became the most influential English language weekly.
Good day, everyone. My name is Sofia Denise Belia, and this is my report. Another magazine, this time in Tagalog, had similar if not more success as the Free Press, and it was owned by Roses. Roman Roses, son of Alejandro Roses Sr., launched the Tagalog journal Liwayway in 1923, which he co-edited with novelist Severino Reyes. Here is a picture of Mr. Alejandro Roses Sr. and Mr. Severino Reyes. Liwayway got off to a difficult start. It was essentially a reprint of the less popular Photo News, which Roses also established and co-edited with Reyes. Photo News was published fortnightly in trilingual sections, English, Spanish, and Tagalog, and included news, articles, prose, and poetry. Despite being an ambitious magazine, it failed to gain popularity, partly due to its trilingual endeavor, according to detractors, Maslog 1960. Customers who simply wanted to read the Spanish part, for example, did not see the need to pay for 2 additional languages. Needless to say, Photo News was unable to sell and was forced to cease publication almost immediately. Roses returned to Manila after a retreat to Mindanao to relaunch the magazine, this time in pure Tagalog. He named it Liwayway because it symbolized dawn and hence a fresh beginning. Roses and Reyes worked hard to guarantee that the Liwayway did not meet the same fate as their failed Photo News. The revised magazine was issued on a weekly basis. It cost 12 centavos and contained up to 40 pages. Photo News had only 20 and cost more. More images and graphics were contributed by the editors. It included local and international news, as well as an extended part of essays, short fiction, and poetry. Liwayway was a critical success story. Despite the fact that Liwayway was primarily designed for the common man, its prose and poetry were widely regarded as the best Tagalog literary production of the time. To the surprise of many of the magazine's readers, Severino Reyes owned mga kwento ni Lola Basyang published on a regular basis. Severino and Roses also attracted some of the country's most prominent literary figures at that time. Poets Jose Corazon de Jesus, Florentino